Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another review. Today I'm looking at a rather intriguing train set from Lionel. I've heard quite a lot about Lionel over the years from you guys. It seems they're most known for their O-scale models, but I've also heard quite a bit about some HO models that they have produced. The Polar Express train set, I think, is the main one. Every Christmas people ask me to try that. But recently I was looking at the Train World website and I happened across an HO train set by Lionel. It was on special, so I thought, you know what, why not give it a try? And that's what I'm looking at today. It is this. It is the Lionel Army Hospital train set. And this was insanely expensive. Lionel's RRP for this on their website is $389.99, which is £325. But I managed to pick this thing up for $219.99, which is around £183. So it does seem insanely expensive, particularly at its full price, but it also seems to be very high tech. On the box I've seen mention of track that goes together magnetically. There's mention of DCC, Bluetooth control, sound, lights. So yes, expensive, but it sounds like there are some very, very interesting features on here that I'm quite desperate to take a look at. So I have no idea what to expect, never tried anything from Lionel before, so I don't even know what this is aimed at. Is this supposed to be a model set? Is it just a kid's train set? I have no idea, but I'm very interested to find out. So come along with me and let's see. Right, so let's figure out what this set is promising then. It says set includes a Lion Chief 284 locomotive and tender. Notice it's not going into prototypical detail about any of this stuff, so maybe it is just there. So I'm not sure how accurate and realistic this is all going to be. 3 passenger coaches, 12 pieces of curves, 3 straights, 1 terminal section, a power supply and a remote controller for the locomotive. If I show you this end of the box, there's a lot of info to see on here. You can see a little bit more information here. Apparently the remote requires 3 AAA batteries, so it's not a wired remote then. And there's a bit about the rolling stock. Apparently it's got couplers, well that's good, and metal wheels, which is definitely good as well. And then on this side, we've got more on the locomotive. So apparently it has a prototypical pilot and front end details and additional boiler details. So basically the front and sides of the loco are detailed. Well, I should hope so for that price. The loco is electric, controlled by a remote. It can be controlled via an app. It can be controlled on DCC or DC, Bluetooth equipped, locomotive and tender pickups for smooth operation. That's pretty good. You've got rail sound system. So is that in the remote maybe? Is it in the loco? I guess we'll find that out. It does have an operating directional headlight and tender lights as well. That's great. It's easily convertible to other DCC decoders. What does that mean? You convert what into a DCC decoder? I don't know. Sound on and off switch and traction tyres. My favourite. Yes, let's put that on the box. Definitely something to be proud of, isn't it? Traction tyres. Right, I don't know, they've thrown absolutely everything, including the kitchen sink, at this set. I don't even know where to begin, so let's just open up the box and take a look. Right, so I think we've got the stars of the show on display first of all. Let me get this off. I'm going to need to pick all this tape back, I think. Right, let's use a bit more of a serious tool. I'm going to start, I think, with this control knob thingy, this remote control. So does this use Bluetooth? Let's have a look. It's just wrapped up. Wow, so it's even got the AT and SF branding on it, which is interesting. This does have buttons for sound on it. You can see a bell on there, horns on there. It's very interesting. Speaking of the locomotive, this is what I'm wondering about. What's this going to be like? Is there going to be any quality to this thing? Well, let's find out. Is it in a bag? No. Right. Whoa. Not really. No, I wouldn't say this is striking me as a particularly good Loco. All of the detail is just moulded. It's very, very basic. Doesn't seem particularly heavy for its size either, because the body is just plastic. Honestly, this looks like it's supposed to be a Berkshire, so I'm assuming that they've just taken their Polar Express Berkshire and dressed it up into maybe a slightly different livery to put it into this set. I've looked at the photos, it does look very, very similar to the Berkshire, but I don't have one to compare. But yeah, that's very, very chunky looking. Not a bad finish on it, I guess, but there's very, very little detail. For an expensive set, I'm a bit surprised at how basic that is. Let's have a look at the tender then, and see how this is supposed to connect up. Santa Fe 4100. I'll tell you more about that later on, by the way. Alright, the tender's very heavy, so I think there's some stuff going on inside here. We've got a sound on and off switch on the bottom, a remote/track option. So it does sound a lot like that Hornby system, doesn't it? That allows your controller or device or whatever to connect directly with the Locos. On this bogie there's also a plug that is not plugged in. Don't know what that's all about. That looks like it's some sort of sensor to detect the speed that the wheels are turning, I would guess. Presumably so that the sound can be synchronized with the motion of the locomotive. Very, very interesting. Can't wait to see how that works. I'm interested to see what sort of technology this set has on board. Let's have a look at some of the coaches then. Are these going to be the same as the Loco? Very, very basic. Maybe they will be. Actually, they don't look too bad. They are very basic. There's incredibly little detail on them, but the decoration looks all right and the finish on them is okay. The couplers are metal ones, which is cool, and the wheels are indeed made of metal, but they're really not very free rolling. I mean, that's ridiculous. Some of them not even fitted correctly, so I might have to look at fixing that. Yeah, this is very much toy train set grade stuff, which I wasn't expecting at the price, not after that Hornby TT set with all the wonderful detail. Okay, so are they the same? No, they're not the same. They have got different numbers on them, which I suppose is more than I was expecting given the detail elsewhere. Again, another axle not fitted properly to the coach. So poor quality plastic coaches. Not dreadfully impressed. So really then, if money has been spent on this set, it's been spent on the technological side, which I will be very interested to see. And there's another one. A different number on there as well. Okay, let's move swiftly on from these coaches, because they're not great, are they? Okay, so let's pull this out now and see what's underneath, because there's got to be more. Oh, cardboard box. Alright. Alright, well the track looks okay. Let's see, so we've got a manual here, we'll take a look at that shortly. Let's see how this track is supposed to go together then. So the track is mounted onto a sort of ballasty rail bed, which is interesting. And apparently if I just hold two pieces of it together, it snaps together. It's not very sturdy, but I suppose if you put it on a flat surface, it would be okay. And the contacts are achieved by just these spring-loaded contacts between the rails, and that's what connects them electrically. So yeah, I think we will have to give this a try. I won't put it straight onto my main layout. We'll give that a go first. So yeah, alright, fair dues. Let's have a look then at the instruction manual, because there's a lot to explain, it seems. It does say it's a Berkshire passenger set, so it is supposed to be a Berkshire in some form. Right. So, joining the Magnalock track sections, we've already figured that out. Locomotive control switches, yeah, we've already seen those. Using the controller, a little bit on that. I'll figure all this out off camera, I think. Using the controller, coupling the cars, that's fine. Using another Bluetooth device, I don't know if I'll try that today, but apparently this is something that you can do. So you can connect to the Loco via your smartphone, I suppose. There's an app that you have to download. It sounds interesting. So that's something else to try another day perhaps, depending on how well this remote works. And now it's just going into a lot more detail. So let's just finish off looking at what we've actually got in the set. This is going to be the power supply. I'm assuming this is going to be an American one, and I probably won't be able to use it here. Depends on the supported voltages. It is universal, it could be used on 240 volts, but the output is 12 volts, so I guess I might as well just use my own that is designed for my outlet, and I haven't got to use some sort of dangerous adapter. So I'll see what I can find on that. Is there anything else included? No, there isn't. Right, so, I don't know, to me it seems a little expensive given the poor quality of this locomotive. Yeah, this does not look great in my opinion. Fantastic if you're looking to, you know, buy this for a little one for Christmas, but then do you really want to be spending over £300 on it at the full price? I'm not convinced, but it all depends on how well it works, how good the sounds are, and how well this remote system works. So let's have a little bit of background on the Army hospital trains, then let's have a much closer look at this loco, and I will show you its lack of detail. So this locomotive is number 4100, and there does seem to have been a 4100 locomotive of this wheel configuration, but I can't find any evidence of a Berkshire with that number, and the 4100 loco I have found doesn't look very much like this at all. So most likely this loco was just designed as the Polar Express and they've reused it in this set. If you do know of a locomotive that looks like this with the number 4100, please do comment down below and let me know. The real hospital trains have been around for years. They actually date back as far as the 1850s. The trains would vary, but they would generally be equipped to support wounded soldiers with first aid facilities. Some of them were effectively mobile hospital wards, complete with beds, and some even had operating theatres. Since the Berkshire locomotives were not around during the First World War, this set is most likely supposed to depict a World War II hospital train of some kind, if indeed it's supposed to realistically depict anything at all, which is slightly doubtful. So there it is, up close and personal for you, the hideous Lionel Berkshire. And this is not what I was expecting, honestly. It is completely toy grade, which is fair enough. I'm sure some youngsters would really enjoy messing around with this thing, but at its full price, this set is over £300. At that kind of price, I am surprised by the lack of detail in this locomotive. Not to mention the lack of detail and quality in the coaches, as we're going to see. Yeah, at over £300, you want some decent models for your money. It's a little bit better for me because I only paid £183 for this set, but still, if I compare this Berkshire with the Bachmann Berkshire, which by the way I bought for less than £100, the difference is massive. The Bachmann Berkshire weighs nearly 100 grams more at 627 grams, and this Lionel one is 531 grams, and that's because it's just plastic, plastic, plastic. All of the bodywork just made of plastic. And not only that, but there's no separately fitted detail on it whatsoever. All of these handrails are just part of the moulding, really chunky looking. Any of the detail on the side, it just kind of sticks out from the body. Doesn't look particularly good. One of the few separately fitted parts is this bell, and just like on the Bachmann Berkshire, that is free to move around, but that's basically it. Very little to see here. The finish is okay, yeah, it's got a reasonable satin finish, which is quite nice, but the decoration is very sparse as well. You've got a couple of bits of lettering and numbering here and there, and then you've got the grey of the smoke box, and that is pretty much it. There is a lamp on the front which apparently works, so that's okay. The box clearly said that the pilot area had prototypical details on it, etc, etc. That's a complete lie. There are no details here. There should be handrails and all sorts of stuff here. Instead, there is nothing. There isn't even a real knuckle coupler. I don't know what detail they were referring to. Again, the box said that this had additional boiler details. That's a complete lie. There are no additional boiler details. It's all just moulded on and looks pretty poor as a result. Not what I was expecting. If the box says the loco is detailed, then the loco should be detailed. Little bit annoyed about that one, frankly. The wheels don't look good. They're just cast metal wheels by the looks of it, with sort of whitish axles that are not painted over. they look pretty bad. The coupling and connecting rods look okay, a little bit chunky I suppose, but they were on the real thing, so yeah, that looks alright. It has got some cab detail, which is a surprise. None of it painted, which is not a surprise, but yeah, that looks actually okay. There's just nothing to remark on, it's just incredibly basic. The same is true of the tender. Again, you just cringe at these handrails, which are just moulded on. They just don't look realistic at all. Same around the back, all the ladders, everything here, just a part of the moulding, nothing separately fitted. And it's also got this sort of nasty crust on it. I mean, what is it? It can't be glue because none of the detail here is glued on, it's just moulded. So what is it? Is it mould? I don't know, but it's disgusting. And it's kind of like the cherry on top of a very unpleasant but very expensive cake. There is a lamp there, which again is apparently going to work, but that's about it. I suppose the coal load looks quite good. Yeah, it's a reasonably fine looking coal load there. And again, nothing wrong with the decoration or the finish, although it is very, very basic. And then of course you've got your metal wheels with the pickups on the tender. I'm hoping then mechanically this model should be quite decent. Hopefully it will run well and sound good. Frankly, that's all it's got left. Right, just for a laugh then, let's take a look at one of those coaches. Alright, so here we have one of the coaches, and yeah, these are really nasty plasticky things. The weight's not terrible at 145 grams, but it is a very, very plasticky thing. I would say the decoration is quite good. There's a fair few prints on here, and the finish and the quality in all of those prints is okay. But apart from that, the detailing on the bodywork is non-existent. You've got some rivets, and that's about it. The ends have very little detail on them as well. And disappointingly, the interior is just a load of passenger seats. This is supposed to be a hospital train. Recovering soldiers just sitting in passenger seats like this, I'm not buying that. So not realistic, not detailed, not appropriate for a hospital train set. They've basically just done a backman, they've plastered a bit of a United States Army livery on it and called it a day. Not really good enough in my opinion. I spent nearly £200 on this set, and frankly the quality and the detail of these models is very similar to that I've paid 25 quid for. Yeah, really, really poor. Anyway, I'm going to set up the track and we'll give all this stuff a try and see if it works. Don't hold your breath. So there it is, the dodgy Lionel Berkshire down onto my main track. I did set up the Lionel track and I filmed the first performance test on that, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But frankly, the magnetic track is just so intermittent. The Loco keeps stopping. You're forever investigating which part of the track isn't connected properly. It's just an absolute nightmare. I would not recommend using that track. However, the performance test has been done. I will show you how this Loco runs in a moment. Next though, I want to talk a little bit about the mechanism. And there is some good and some bad in the mechanism. I would say it's mostly good, but there are some features I'm not too keen on. For instance, these blind axles. The middle driving wheels have no flanges on them whatsoever. Now I would have said that's so that the Loco can handle the tighter curves, but the curves that came with the set are not that tight, and of course my Bachmann Berkshire does not have any blind axles, and that's fine right down to second radius. So yeah, I'm not keen on that, but I suppose it's fair enough. There are traction tyres on the rear driving wheels. Not keen on this feature. If the Loco was a little heavier, it wouldn't need those, although as we're going to see, the coaches are so awful and stiff that it probably does need those in order to shift them. The tender wheels though have pickups on them. All but one tender axle have proper wiper pickups on them, so that's a really, really good feature. Can't see any pickups on the Loco though, which seems a little bit strange, so I decided I was going to delve inside to reveal this. Yeah, it's a split chassis Loco, surprise, surprise. It does run on bearings, and those bearings also do the picking up. And then you've got the plastic insulator in the centre there, which has got a bit of metal reinforcement around it. So it's done to a high standard, I would say. I'm not keen on this design myself, but it does seem to work well in this case. And like I say, that reinforcement does make it slightly better quality. Removing the body reveals the chassis. The chassis is die-cast, but there's not a lot to it, hence why the Loco's not particularly heavy. We do, however, have a very large CAN motor. Not sure if it's 3 or 5 pole, but on digital it does run quite well. And there's also a flywheel, which I'm surprised to see. That is quite a high quality feature. The gauging comes in at 14.3 to 14.4, which is quite near the standard. But now I'm going to show you how the track went together, and I'm also going to show you that first performance test. So the assembly of the track was remarkably easy. It does go together very, very nicely. A little bit tricky to make sure all of the pieces are sitting square. Once it's on the ground, you have to shuffle it around a bit. But yeah, that worked okay. I plugged in the power supply to the track, and the red light lit up for about a second, and then it went out and I couldn't get it to light again. Turns out that power supply had blown a fuse. Now it was rated for 240 volts, so I just plugged it into an adapter, thought I could use it. No, immediately blew a fuse, so I'm a bit dubious of the quality of that, and so I'm going to use my own 12 volt power supply instead. So with that, here we have the Polar Express, which has been requisitioned by the US Army for a hospital train. But frankly, if I was an injured soldier and I saw this thing coming to rescue me, I think I'd look the other way in embarrassment and continue to die. But I can't do that because I'm supposed to be reviewing this, so let's plug it in, see what happens. Alright, nothing right now. Oh, hello. Spoke too soon. It's making digital noises. Oh, I guess it wants me to pair. So I've got the controller. Let's switch that on. Oh God, it's off. Blimey. Stop. Oh no. Okay, I see. So I think stop is when the controller is at the top there. Blimey. Right, so let's try forwards. Has it lost connection maybe? Yes. Right, let's try and bring it back round. The sound. That sound is ridiculous. Oh. So the sound is definitely controlled by that sensor on the tender. That's quite cool, except it sounds awful. Like, at anything above this sort of speed, it sounds awful. Like, nah, it just doesn't sound right. I want to know what it sounds like at full speed. It just sounds like a tractor. That is genuinely awful. Yeah, that is really, really awful. Right. What do the other sounds do? Let's try the bell. Yeah, that sounds okay. Let's go for the microphone.
Dispatcher here. Stand by for track orders. Over.
Okay.
Copy that. Let's get to work. Out.
Yeah, let's get to work. Let's get to work throwing this in the dustbin and buying a decent Berkshire. Let's try the horns. Oh yeah. So I have to say, I mean, the controller works very, very well. It's just the sound I can't believe. Anyway, let's go forwards. Let's try a crawl with this. No. I think that's about as slow as I can go. And actually, that's not bad. No, it's not bad. And the sound is almost sensible at this speed. Yeah, that's not bad, is it? So performance-wise, it seems alright. It's just such an odd, monotonous sound as it goes. Yeah, the chuffing is really, really bad. Right, let's run it in. Let's go for about half power, and I apologise in advance for the noise. Here we go. I think I've figured it out, folks. Oh. Right. I haven't figured it out. Keep stopping. Yeah, it sounds like machine gun fire, doesn't it? I wonder if that's the idea. You know, it's an army train. Maybe it's supposed to be under fire or something. I honestly, I cannot put up with this. I'm going to have to switch the sound off. It's just irritating. Let's see if it cuts out again. Yep. Well, let's have a look at that track then. Well, it looks like it's together properly. Oh, that's caused it to cut out again. Uh-oh. Well, I've done something there, because now it is dead. It stopped again. Right, So yeah, it just turns out the track is useless. There are multiple places around this circuit where the connection is just poor. I've managed to solve the problem here, but now it's cutting out elsewhere. Let's see if we can actually get a complete lap out of it. Yeah, I started taking it apart and testing the individual pieces. Loads of them have issues. Oh, I think it's going to do it. Well, there we go. Got a complete lap out of it. But yeah, unreliable. You've got to really mess around with the track to get it to stay connected. So, yeah, not impressive. Track doesn't work properly. Controller, well, power supply doesn't work properly. The sound is awful when it does work properly. It does have lights, I suppose. Yeah, that's a bonus. But ultimately, not very impressed. So I think I'm probably going to take it off this layout and put it onto my main layout and see if I can run it on a DCC controller. Yes. Alright, well, I'll finish running it in anyway, and I'll see you shortly. Alright folks, I am back. Yes, I have been putting up with the machine gun fire. Right, so yeah, running it on the main layout, as you can see. I am using my Gauge Master controller, just the regular analog one, turned up to full, and I'm still using this thing. It actually works quite well. It's a horrible plasticky thing, but it does work pretty good. Right, so let's try and get a crawl out of this on my Gauge Master controller. I think it will be much the same, but I just want to see what it's like. Can we go any slower than that? So it's actually quite good and smooth at this speed. It doesn't allow the Loco to go particularly slow. I would say it looks like it's running on 28 speed steps or something. But it is a little bit coggy, isn't it? Yeah, not the smoothest motion. See if we can get it to go forwards that slowly. Bit more, bit more, bit more. There we go. Yeah, I mean, it's alright. I think it's alright, but again, this is quite an expensive set. The performance is not mind-blowing or anything, but yeah, ultimately I think it's okay. It's fairly good and smooth. I hate the sound with an absolute passion. I want to stab the speaker out of that tender and throw it down the stairs. Maybe I will do that after this review. Yeah, the sound is an odd topic, isn't it? Because sort of anything above a crawl, it's just totally ridiculous. And yet they've invested in that whole sort of wheel spinning detection thing so that the chuffs are synchronized to the motion. And it just makes me wonder why. Why have they bothered? It sounds bad. The Loco is bad, so why does it need such a high spec feature? It's just a strange, strange Loco and set. Speaking of the other parts of the set, the coaches run about as good as they look, and by that I mean they run horribly. I did the rolling test. The first coach was very, very hesitant to start rolling. It didn't even get as far as the passenger footbridge. The second coach was even worse. I couldn't actually get that to sustain a run at all. It just wouldn't get going. And the same is true of the third coach. The axles, the wheels, they're just so stiff that they're not free rolling at all. And some of the axles are wobbly as well. So those are by far the worst part of this set. Horribly detailed and poor performing as well. Anyway, unfortunately, this Loco now has to go and couple up to them. So let's try and do that nice and steadily. And yes, it sounds like the Loco is firing shots constantly as it runs. And stop. Did it work? Hey, it did work. So to be fair, the couplings are one of the few things on this set that do work properly. Yeah, the couplings are fine. Okay, off we go with the coaches. Yeah, so even though we've got the sensor on one of the tender axles to time the chuffing correctly, that's not correct. You know, this Loco is not running anywhere near fast enough to be chuffing like that, so it's just a complete waste of resources, isn't it, that feature? However, I did want to keep the sound on because as the Loco is running, the announcements it plays when you press the microphone button are a little bit different, so let me get some of those on recording for you. That's one saying that the rails are clear ahead. Let's do it again. There you go, so that was asking if the next block section's clear, and there was a reply to say it was. So that's quite cool. Yeah, I do like the variety in the voiceovers and such, and the bells and the horns are fine, it's just that chuffing. It's absolutely infuriating. In fact, I'm going to switch it off, because if I don't, I think I'm going to absolutely lose my mind. Oh, thank goodness for that. I'm also considering pulling off the switch that enables the sound, just to prevent me from ever accidentally enabling it again in the future. But yeah, you can see it's not a particularly smooth runner, it kind of jerks along a little bit. It's not the worst in the world, but not fantastic either. It does stay on the track though, which is pretty good. Yeah, that's not too bad. The coaches do too. I'm absolutely amazed that they are stable on the track, but they are, even on my layout, they work as they should, with the exception of being so stiff. So, you know, if you've got other locos, particularly early wartime looking locos, that you want to give these a go with, you better hope they're mightily powerful, because these coaches are super stiff. But yeah, there we go. That's the Lionel Hospital train set. I wouldn't really recommend this train set. It's much better if you're using your own track. If you're buying this to use the track that comes with the set, prepare for a world of frustration, pain, and regret. But now I've got this on my track, it's fine. I particularly like the controller. I think that's the best part of this. I don't know what sort of decoder I would need in order to get other locos to run on it. So it's a bit like a one-time thing, really. But apparently this will work on DCC, so if you wanted to do away with the cheap controller, you can still control this loco with your others. If you'd want to. I don't know if you would. I don't think I will. But either way, there we go. That is the set. Let's have some ratings then for Lionel's Army Hospital set. This wasn't my cup of tea, I'll be honest with you, not impressed with this. I think a youngster might like it a little bit more, but there are still things about it that make it inappropriate even for them. The level of detail for me has to be a 2-star. Very, very sparse on detail, almost no separately fitted detail at all on the coaches or the loco. The decoration very, very simple, and the coaches are not hospital coaches, they're just passenger coaches with a different livery. Not really cutting it for me. Performance then isn't too bad, everything is nice and reliable, it all stays on the track, etc. Performance loses 1 star because of the loco, it moves quite jerkily, and this system doesn't allow it to crawl particularly well, and even at the lowest speeds, which aren't that low, it's kind of coggy. Another point is lost thanks to the coaches, which are just so stiff. Wobbly wheels, stiff axles, just not very good, so it loses a star for that. The pulling power is pretty good at 48 coaches, but it's only that good because of the traction tyres. Without those, it's quite a light loco with a lot of plastic on it, it wouldn't be much of a good hauler. The mechanism is 3.5 star, it has some good aspects. I'm not keen on the split chassis design of the loco, but it does work okay. The motor seems to be a good quality one, nice and chunky thing with a flywheel, but it has got the traction tyres. If it was just a bit heavier, it wouldn't need those, that's unfortunate. And the blind axles as well. Some of the wheels don't have flanges, that's just kind of cheap and nasty, isn't it? Wish it had proper wheels on it. The quality then is 2 star. It loses points for the track. You only have to touch it and it loses connection. The idea of putting track together using magnets is cool, but even on this short circuit, it caused problems. If you want to expand the track, forget about it, you're going to have loads of issues. Yeah, it takes quite a bit of fettling to actually get the whole circuit to conduct, not fantastic. The loco, very, very plasticky, not much metal on there, and the coaches in particular are really, really poor. Stiff wheels, almost no detail, very plasticky, just not good at all. And of course the power supply blew a fuse as soon as I plugged it in, so that's really not going to be great quality either. 2 star, that's the best I can do. Value for money then. Now obviously the loco and coaches are close to worthless in my opinion. The track is close to worthless, but the control system is very, very good. I like that a lot. You have got a sound decoder in there, even though the quality of the sound is absolutely terrible. So at the price I paid, £183, I think the value is okay, middle of the road, so I've given it 3 star for that. I think at the full price though, it'd be more like 2 star. Yeah, it's not good value. So I've given it 2.5 star, not really a good price for what you get. Overall then, that is 5.09 out of 10, or a grade of E, let's put that into the logbook, and yeah, it is bottom place in place number 11. I do not recommend this set from Lionel. It's got some cool features, but ultimately I think you can spend the same money elsewhere and get a lot more for it. Yeah, don't buy this Lionel train set, it's not much good. Well folks, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking at this set. Yeah, pants, absolute pants, isn't it? The quality is terrible. I don't understand why they put all the tech into that Loco, because it just drove the price up and the models are just not worth it. It's not worth paying an extra $150 or whatever just to get that sound, because it's rubbish. And the Loco and coaches, needless to say, those are rubbish as well. If this was an analog train set sold for, I don't know, $150 or less, then I think it would be a little bit more acceptable. But the high price means that this should have been a premium train set, and ultimately it is not. And it's not what I was expecting at all. Next to the Bachmann Berkshire, the Loco itself looks terrible, and obviously the coaches are not much good either. So I wasted my money. I advise against you doing the same. But if you disagree, if you think this is a good Loco, please comment down below and let me know. Obviously, these are just my opinions. They are what I think about this set. If you think the set's okay, then that is fine. I'm not going to judge you for it. So yeah, do let me know what you think. For now though, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon, hopefully with something slightly better to review. Alright folks, thanks for watching. Cheers everybody.